Hello, everyone. Today we have a MacBook A2337 that was sent to us by another shop. And this MacBook doesn't charge, it doesn't power on. And we're just going to try to see if we can bring this MacBook back to life. We have had similar problems like this with a lot of M1 series. What we're going to do right now is we're just going to try to use the power adapter to see if we can have a 20 volt. So a 20 volt is what we expect for the MacBook to turn on or to charge. I'm just gonna plug this thing inside and see if we can have the right voltage for this to power on or to charge. And if you can see on the screen, we have a 5 volt. Now you can see we have 5 volt and we don't have 20 volt. To the best of my knowledge, I think this is a CE33 issue. And this IC chip helped to convert the 5 volt to 20 volt. So we have present 5 volt, and there is no communication between the 5 volt to the 20 volt or to the chip to convert to 20 volt. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to disassemble the MacBook and see if there's any liquid damage or any other further problems that might stop this communication. When I always disassemble MacBooks, I always use a magnet mat to place all my screws in the right direction so I don't misplace them or I don't mix them in different directions. Because when you do so, it might gonna cause problems to assemble them again, and mixing those screws might cause damage on your MacBook. So I always recommend that. So now that we have taken the back cover of the MacBook, first of all, I'm gonna disconnect the battery before I can do any other further check on the motherboard. And after disconnecting the battery, I'm gonna measure the voltages that goes all the way to the battery connector. What I expect to see, we need to have a 12 volt, two 12 volt on the two charging port, and a 3.5 battery regulator. So we're just gonna measure them. And first of all, I'm gonna connect the adapter again. So I'm gonna put the black prong on the ground and the red prong to measure the voltages. So I'm gonna set my multimeter to auto so I can auto measure the voltages. So now we check on the pin and we have 11.94, let's say 12 volt. But if you see the voltage is not stable, the voltage is moving. So the voltage doesn't stay or it's not stable, so you just keep moving. Let's check the other pin. Uh, the other pin is let's say 12 volt, 11.4. So it's not stable. So both pins are not stable. The voltage drops and goes back up and drops again. Now it's obvious that we just need to take down the motherboard and run some few diagnostics. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna check to see if there's any liquid damage from the backside of it. So I'll make sure I place the screws in the right place so I will know where I took them and where I need to put them back so I don't mix them up. So now the motherboard is out, and I'm just going to use the microscope and just take a look and see if there's anything that is unusual in the motherboard. So let's take a look and to see if there's anything that's suspicious. So far, it seems to be clean. Everything looks nice. So I'm just going to replace the CD ICs, the board ICs, and these are the ICs that are responsible for the charging. So they convert the 5 volt to 20 volt, and so we're just going to replace them and see what happens next. So I've checked, and it seems like there's no short on the board. We don't have any short on the board. Everything looks okay so far. So everything seems fine. So what I'm gonna do is just to replace the ICs. Uh, it can be one of them that is broken, but it's recommended to replace both of them. I'm just gonna have some protective tape, the heat tape, so we don't have so much heat on this area. So we're gonna apply some flux and start to take out the chips on the motherboard. To carry on this type of repairs, you need to be an experienced technician because if you don't have the skills, you're going to damage the motherboard. And I don't personally recommend to you to carry on this kind of service if you're not a professional. So now the first one is out, and we're just going to take the other one out. Yeah. So I make sure I apply more flux, so it's going to be easy for me to just put it out. So we're just going to clean the old soldering and apply a new one, then clean the board and replace the ICs. I make sure I apply um, flux around so it will be easy for me to clean the board. I'm gonna try to clean it without some alcohol. So I'm just trying to use the soldering remover tape, and you need to make sure you want to clean the motherboard, so when you're placing the new IC, there'll be no shot on the section. You want to be extremely be careful so you don't destroy any component. So just clean that with some alcohol. That's what I did. And everything seems fine. I'm just gonna place the new IC. You want to be careful with the position of the IC. Apply more flux to make it settle down. It's a little bit complex to replace because these are the boards, so it's not as easy as replacing a common IC. This is a bit for someone who doesn't know how to do it. It might be difficult. You might miss the positioning, and you're gonna cause a shot on the motherboard. So we replace the second IC. What I do is I always make sure I spread the heat so it doesn't go on one section. So now we're just gonna clean the board and let it cool down. But before I do that, I always make sure I test the components close to it to see if there's any shot in that section. So I use a multimeter and I just turn it to diode mode, and I try to test around the board and see if we have any short. Everything seems fine so far. So now we're gonna assemble um, the motherboard, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna assemble it and not just connect the screen. I'm just gonna connect the power and see if I can have. I will put the board together. Um, I'm just gonna put the screws on the charging connector. What I'm gonna do right now is I'm just gonna test the board and see if we have a 20 volt. Our 5 volts. Now we have 20 volt. That's 19.9, approximately 20 volt. And that shows that our MacBook is back to life. So now we have a 19 volt. The communication now is settled. So let's try to connect the LCD and we test the MacBook properly. So now we connect the battery. So let's connect the power. Hey, we have Apple logo. So this shows that the MacBook is back to life. And thank you so much for watching, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to like and comment, and comment your opinion. And we're just going to close the MacBook and send it back to the repair shop.